Friends, we are going to discuss a very important topic, that is the concept of supply. And you already know that before this GST law, so we had law on value added tax, right? You might have heard of this. So that is something like sales tax. So tax was levied whenever there is a sale. And similarly, there was also law relating to services, service tax. So two more important taxes were there. Now all these, both the taxes are almost submerged under GST. So to understand that thing, let me explain you with the help of whiteboard. The earlier regime, that means prior to GST, if I'm talking about, whenever there is a sales, when there is sales means definitely some goods were involved, is it not? So when I say there is a sales, that means we need to understand sales means there is some goods. If goods are not there, it might be services. Okay, services may be provided, sales may be made. Okay, if someone is providing some services, then he was liable, depending upon certain conditions, he was liable to pay tax under service tax. If someone is effecting a sales, that means sale of goods, he was paying taxes under value added tax and prior to sales tax act. These two taxes were there. Under GST law, what has happened? Both the things, that means sales as well as services, has merged into one concept, that is called the concept of supply. Supply includes, that means supply includes A, supply of goods, and B, supply of services. Okay, so when are uh, services are provided, services are included. Therefore, if you see the title of the act itself, it says what? Goods and services are. Goods are covered as well as services are covered. And one term is used that is called as supply. Supply is relevant for goods, that's also relevant for services. Okay, so let me first show you the definition of the supply. Then we'll come back. We need to learn few more definitions also in that context. So give me a moment. Let me first take you to the definition of supply. If you look at here, so here this particular definition I have taken from section 7 of CGSTR. If you see, it's an inclusive definition. It says supply includes A, all forms of supply of goods or services or both, such as sale, transfer, barter, exchange, license, rental, lease, or disposal made or agreed to be made for a consideration by a person in the course or furtherance of business. So this is one part of the definition. Now you must have understood that various kinds of transports, various like sales, transfer, barter, exchange, all of them are supply. But here the point is that it should have been made for a consideration. Okay, disposal is also a supply, but consideration is important. And it should be made by a person in the course or furtherance of business. So it must be connected to the business. So therefore, what is business we need to understand. What is consideration also we need to understand. And these terms also we need to understand. Then after that only we will be able to understand the complete meaning of the terms. Now you see the other part, next part, part B of the definition says that its supply also includes importation of services for a consideration, whether or not in the course or furtherance of business. That means when the services are imported, then it will be treated as supply, whether or not it is in the course of business or furtherance of business. That means even if it is not in the course or furtherance of the business, if services are for consideration, then still it will be treated as supply. And part C talks about activities specified in Schedule 1, made or agreed to be made without consideration. That means there are a list of activities. We'll be going through that. In respect of those activities, even if there is no consideration, still they will be regarded as supply. So this inclusive definition is a little complex. First of all, it explains so many things: sale, transfer, barter, exchange, license, rental, lease, disposals, etc. But what it's saying, it should be for a consideration, and it should be also in connection with business. Secondly, it says importation of service can be for a consideration, but even if it is without uh, any nexus with business, or even if it is not connected to the business, still it will be treated as supply. And there are some activities which can be treated as supply even without consideration. Just let us go through these activities. So you see, these are the some list of activities. We'll not go into this list right now. Before seeing this, we'll once again come back to the definition of the supply. But before that, we need to understand few more terms. Then only you'll be able to digest this definition. As you have already said, we need to understand the meaning of business, meaning of goods, meaning of services, meaning of consideration. Then only it will be easier for us to clearly understand this concept. So first, what we'll do, let me try to explain you few more definitions. Then I will again come back to this topic. Okay. Now, as of now, what you know, that under GST law, what is taxable event is supply. When there is a supply, it's liable to goods and services tax. And the supply term includes both goods as well as services. And there can be combined supply also. Goods and services both can be supplied under one contract, under one terms. Okay, for example, let us say you are giving someone to print a book or print a notebook like this, right? So he is supplying goods as well as printing. So printing is a service, goods is a goods is a item. Okay, it's a movable goods. So both the things are included here, right? So the entire value of the supply under GST law is going to be taxed in an integrated manner. That means there is no distinction that goods will be taxed under some other law, services will be taxed under some other law. Like earlier, it was there goods was to be taxed under VAT and services were to be taxed under service tax law. But now here under GST regime, both the supplies are to be taxed in an integrated manner. So now let us go through few definitions. Okay, these definitions are important. What I'll do, I'll be in the latter part, I'll be giving you a list of definitions which you need to study. But before understanding every important concept, we need to touch upon few definitions. Like for the supply, we need certain definitions. When we are learning this registration process, we also need to understand few more definitions. The first definition we want to learn is about goods. As you can see in the slides, goods are defined in section 2, clause 52 of CGST. And as per that, goods means every kind of movable property other than money and securities. This is one part of the definition. First of all, what it says, it should be movable property. So if it is not a movable property, then definitely it's not coming under the definition of goods. And it specifically includes money. Money is not goods. And securities. Securities will be understanding later what is that. But at this stage, you understand securities means shares, bonds, debentures, all these things can be referred to as securities. So they are also not goods. Money is not goods. These securities are not goods. Okay, so first concept is that it means every kind of movable property other than money and securities. Now it says, but it includes actionable claim. Here is one more thing that we need to understand. What is the meaning of actionable claims? Okay, that will be understanding separately. One more definition is there regarding actionable claim. So right now you have this thing you keep in your mind. Actionable claim means it's a claim. Claim means it's something receivable, right? And actionable claim means at this stage you understand that court can take some action on that claim. Right? Exact definition is that it's a kind of, you can say it's a kind of asset which is not secure. I can give you some example. Let us say there is an insurance policy. Insurance policy can be treated as an acceptable claim. Right? So goods includes these items. Actionable claims. Growing crops are also goods. Grass is also goods. And other things attached to or forming a part of land, which are agreed to be served before supply under a contract of supply. So these are again these things: grass, growing crops, things which are attached to or forming a part of the land, which are agreed to be served before supply or under a contract of supply, which can be supplied, even if it attached to the land, if it can be supplied under a contract, they can still be treated as goods. Okay, is it clear to you? Got some idea? Suppose you see there is a street light or there is a electricity tower which is attached to the land, but it can be supplied, it can be removed, it can be supplied. So that is also goods. Our GST law covers all these kinds of goods. It's the definition of goods which is covered under GST. And if you refer to Article 366(12) of the Constitution of India, there also goods has been explained. It includes all materials, commodities, and articles. Here also, this is also an inclusive definition. All materials, commodities, and articles can be referred to as. Got some broad idea about goods. I think you'll be able to identify which are the things can be referred to as goods and which are not goods. If think they're not movable, definitely they're not goods. Money is not goods. Securities are not goods. Actionable claims are goods. Having understood this definition, let us move to the next important definition, which is about services. Right. This particular term is defined in Section 2, Clause 102 of CGSTR. It says it means anything other than goods, money, and securities. But the first thing is that most of the things which are not goods other than goods can be called as services. But it also excludes money and securities, but it includes activities relating to use of money. So money is excluded, but activities relating to use of money or its conversion by cash. Suppose that activity related to conversion of money. Okay, let us say you are having Indian rupee, you want to get it converted into US dollar. So this is an activity relating to money. Money is not goods, but this activity, money is not service, but this activity of conversion is services, is included in the definition of services. So therefore, it says it includes activities relating to use of money or its conversion by cash by any other mode from one form, currency, or denomination to another form, currency, or denomination for which a separate consideration is charged. If for that activity, a separate consideration is charged, let's say separate commission is charged, then that activity is included in the definition of services. Okay, the definition in the CGST Act has got a explanation also. It explains, or it says, for removal of doubt, it is hereby clarified that the expression services includes facilitating or arranging transactions in securities. So facilitating services or arranging a transaction, if that kind of services are provided, there are also services. Okay, services includes all these things. Okay, so facilitating purchase of securities, facilitating transfer of securities, arranging similar transactions and securities can be treated as services. Okay, and if you refer to Article 266, 26A of the Constitution, services means anything other than goods. Okay, these both the terms are important for us under GST law. We need to understand what are the things can be called as goods, what are the things can be called as services. Got some idea? Now, friends, let me tell you the source where from you can check the these definitions. So we may go to our website, GST website, or uh, even from CBIC website also you can check that. Just give me a second. Yeah. Now you can see the screen. I'm taking you to a particular website with which you are quite familiar. Let me go here. gst.gov.in. Okay, you can find a link here. Are you able to see it on your screen? Are you seeing it? GST website. I'm
Yes,
taking
yes.
it to the GST law, right? Okay, you see various state government GST acts are here. And for CGST Act, you can go to CBIC, Central Board of Indirect Tax and Customs. Okay, you can find the law here or any specific law. You can find, if you go here also you can find a link, GST. Okay, you see GST law, rules, rates, etc. If you refer to the act, you may refer to the act. Okay, here is, you see CGST act, right? Amended up to 31st August, CGST act is there. And can find here. And we are referring to section 2, definition of goods. Is it? Now you see this is section 2. Let me show you from beginning. This is how the act looks like. Are you seeing it? This is CGST Act. You see section 1 talks about this thing, short title, extent at commencement. Then comes to section 2. What is actionable claim? It is defined here. We have to refer to the Transfer of Property Act. You'll be seeing that. I'll be explaining what is that actionable claims. Right now, I want to show you the definition of goods. You can find it here. Business also will be learning what is the meaning of business. Shortly, we are learning that definition. You see, the definition of business is here. Clause 17, business includes trade, commerce, manufacture. We are going to learn that thing also. Actionable claims will be learning. Business also will be learning. These are important definitions which are relevant for us to understand the concept of supply. Okay. Just have a look at the definitions. So many definitions are there. Now you see, this is clause 52, which explains the meaning of goods. Goods means every kind of movable property other than money and securities, but includes actionable claim, growing crops, grass, things attached to or forming a part of land, which are agreed to be sought before supply under a contract. Under a contract of supply. This is the exact definition which I told you. Okay, so all these terms are relevant. Some of them are more important. Now, let me show you the definition of some services also. Now you see, services means anything other than goods, money, and securities, but includes activities relating to use of money or its conversion by cash or any other mode from one form, currency or denomination, to another form, currency or denomination, but for which separate constitution is judged. There is the explanation. It is clarified that services includes facilitating or arranging transactions in securities. They are also services. Okay, so like this, I had shown you the source. You can refer to this source whenever you have any doubt about any definition. And the definition that we are learning the definitions which are given in the CGSTR. Now, friends, next definition so we'll be learning. Goods and services are clear to you. Next is we need to understand the meaning of principle. Right? You know, principle is important in the context of principal and agent relationship. So principal means a person on whose behalf the agent carries on the business of supply or receipt of goods or services. Or okay, sometimes you see supply can be made by the principal, supply can also be made by the agent. Therefore, we need to understand the meaning of the term principal and agent. Okay, so this is defined in clause 2, section 2, clause 88. Right. So if someone is supplying or some agent is supplying on behalf of the principal with reference to that agent, we need to understand that the principal has to be understood with reference to agent. So principal means a person on whose behalf the agent carries on the business of supply. Right, on whose behalf that supply is made, that person can be referred to as principal. Okay, suppose I am a trader, I am a supplier, but I am sending my delivery boy. The delivery boy, you can treat him as an agent, but actually supply is made by me. Understood? So this is the meaning of principal. We also need to understand the meaning of competent authority. Means an authority as may be notified by the government. So competent authority, sometimes we need approval of competent authorities. Appropriate time we'll be understanding the importance of this term. Term family is also important. In the context of supply, we need to understand the meaning of term family. Under GST law, it has been defined. Section 2, clause 49 defines. It says means, it's not an inclusive definition, it exactly means spouse and children of the person. Spouse is a part of family, children are a part of family. And it says the parents, grandparents, brothers, sisters of the person, if they are wholly or mainly dependent upon such person. Spouse and children are always included in family, whether they are dependent or not. But parents, grandparents, brothers, sisters are a part of family under GST law if they are wholly or mainly dependent on that person. Now, this important definition, this is about basics. Section 2, clause 17. We need to understand it in the context of supply. Now you see what it says. Now you can see that this is an inclusive definition. It says business includes so many things. It's not giving you an exhaustive list that these are the only things that CDFGS. They are the only activities which can be called as business. It's not like that. It says business includes. It includes trade, commerce, manufacture, profession, vocation, adventure, wager, or similar activity, whether or not for a pecuniary benefit or not. That means even if financial interest is involved or financial interest doesn't involve, okay, whether there is any financial benefit or not, that doesn't matter. Trade, commerce, manufacture, profession, vocation, adventure, all these things are, okay, all the things can be called as businesses. Okay, wager means it is something like a gambling kind of activity. That means somebody who earns only when some uncertain things happens. That person can be called as a wager. That kind of contract can be also referred to as wagering contract. So that wagering activity is also business. Okay, trade, commerce, manufacture, profession, vocation, all of these. I think you understand all of it. They are businesses. Then activity and transaction in connection with the incidental or ancillary to the subclause A. That means which are incidental. That means in order to carry out manufacture, you might have to do so many activities. In order to carry out your profession, you might have to do so many activities. Those activities may be incidental or they may be called as ancillary to your main activity. So those activities are also business. Okay, they're also business. Suppose you want to manufacture something, but to manufacture, to run your factory, you have to manage an office also. Is it not? And you might have to construct a building for office. So that may be incidental for carrying out the activities of manufacture. Then activities and transaction in the nature of subclause A, whether or not there is volume, frequency, continuing or irregularity of such transactions. That means irrespective of the fact whether it is frequently happening, you are doing transactions frequently, regularly, continually, or maybe on occasional you are doing, that doesn't matter. All these transactions are businesses. Point D talks about supply or acquisition of goods, including capital goods and services in connection with the commencement or closure of the business. So when goods are acquired, it may be capital goods, maybe some services. So all these things forms a part of business. Provision by club, association, society, or any such body, right? So if club, association, society is making some providing something for a subscription or for any other consideration, suppose it is charging subscription fee or charging a membership fee, and for after charging that thing, it is providing some services. Okay, so all these provisions forms a part of business activity. Okay, then services supplied by a person as a holder of an office which has been accepted by him in the course of or furtherance of his trade, profession, or vocation. Okay, if certain services are provided, okay, services supplied by a person as a holder of an office which has been accepted by him in the course of or furtherance of his trade. So in connection with somebody's trade, somebody's profession or vocation, if some services are supplied, those things can be referred to as business. Services provided by a race club by way of totalizer or a license to bookmaker in such club. So these are the activities. These totalizing activities are licensed to bookmaker. So these are the activities means. So in race course, there are people who's, or you can say this is also one of the major activities of race club. Whenever a prize money is won, that is distributed among the winners. Okay, are the people who has won the bid, won the bet. So somebody total calculates that thing, computes how much money is to be distributed to whom, or how much money is to be received by a different person. So that activity is called as the totalizing activities. So this totalizers business is also business. Or any activity or transaction undertaken by central government, state government, or any local authority in which they are engaged as public authorities. That means even the activities of central government, state government, or local authorities can be also regarded as business. This is the broad meaning of business. You can have a look at this picture. Okay, trade, commerce, manufacture, etc. Incidental activities. Okay, whether they're conducted frequently or infrequently. Okay, acquisition of capital asset, provisions by club, association, etc. Okay, admission for constitution, etc. Services by way of a person as a holder of an office. Okay, so like this, all these things are called as businesses. Okay, one thing at that time, I think I had skipped this admission for constitution, a person in any premises. Suppose you are admitting, suppose it's a cinema hall, it's a movie hall, where on payment of certain consideration, admission is allowed. So that is also business. So all these things are referred to as businesses. Is it clear? If you have any query, then let me ask. Look at this definition. In case if you have a query, then let me know. Did you understand? Any query you have? Okay, so next concept, let us understand. Next is what is government. Government means central government, because since we are referring to CGST Act, here government is defined as central government. Local authority, just have a look. These are the things which can be called, these are uh, these entities can be referred to as local authorities, like panchayat, municipality, municipal committee, Jilla Parishad, district board, cantonment board, regional council or district council constituted under 6th schedule of the constitution, development board, regional councils, all of them are referred to as local authorities. Okay. Yeah. Now, one more thing which is important, very important in the context of supply is constitution. We also need to understand the meaning of constitution. Okay. Constitution in relation to supply of goods and services, or both, includes. So it is again an inclusive definition, as you can see, and it is defined under section 2, clause 31. It includes any payment made or to be made, whether in money or otherwise, in respect of, or in response to, or for the inducement or the supply of goods or services, or both, whether by the recipient or by any other person, but shall not include any subsidy given by central government or state government. So it is made very clear. So constitution means payment made or to be paid. Constitution may come in money or otherwise. It's not necessary that always constitution should come in money. It may come otherwise also. Okay, it may come in response to or for the inducement of supply of goods and services. For supply of goods or services, if some money or something, even if it is not money, something else is received, that can be called as consideration. Okay, whether by the recipient or any other person. So this is again important. It's not necessary that consideration has to come from the recipient. It may come from other persons also. Okay, so it may come from third parties, whether from recipient or any other person, but shall not include any subsidy given by central government or state government. If let us say you are purchasing something and central government or state government is giving a subsidy, right? Then that is not consideration. Suppose you are purchasing a tractor and central government is giving you a subsidy, then that will not form a part of constitution. Suppose tractor is for 6 lakh, central government giving you subsidy of 1 lakh. So your consideration will be what? 5 lakh. Okay, because that is the consideration. Whatever is contributed by central government, that is not consideration. It is not received from the recipient of the supply. That is one thing. And again, it is received from central government or state. But some third party is sponsoring, then that is consideration. Okay, for you are purchasing something and some third party is paying, that's also consideration. I think this part is clear. Point B, that means consideration also includes the monetary value of any act or forbearance in respect of, or in response to, or for the inducement of the supply of goods or services, or both, whether by the recipient or by any other person, but shall not include any subsidy given by central government or state government. That means the monetary value of any act or forbearance in respect to supply. If some act is performed, uh, in, that means for the supply of goods and services, so the monetary value of that thing can be called as a consideration. Okay, suppose someone A is selling a computer to B, and B, instead of paying money, providing some services. Okay, then the monetary value of that services can be called as the consideration. Okay, A is giving B a computer. Okay, B is, let us say B is a doctor, he is providing fee services. Then the monetary value of that services can be called as the consideration. So that is the meaning of this thing. Monetary value of any act or forbearance in respect of or in response to the inducement of or supply of goods and services. Okay, so if payments are made, payments are to be made, that is consideration. Okay, consideration, it's not necessary that consideration should come from the recipient. Consideration may come from the third parties also. But in both the situations, you have to remember, subsidies given by central government or state government are not consideration. Is it clear to you? Yes or no? Is it clear? Can you reply?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, next part we'll see one more thing relevant to consideration is you can see there is this proviso. Sometimes what happens? Deposits are paid. Deposits are not exactly payments, but suppose you are regularly purchasing something from a shop. Let me give you an example. Let us say there is a shopkeeper. There is a shopkeeper from whom you are purchasing regularly. Then what happens when you pay money for a transaction? So you are purchasing for which we are making a payment. You'll definitely agree that this payment is consideration. This is a consideration. But assume that you are not paying, but you are making a deposit. Let's say you are regularly purchasing. So you deposit, okay, I am depositing 1 lakh with you. So I'll be regularly purchasing from you. That 1 lakh deposit is not a consideration because that's a deposit. When that will become consideration? When the shopkeeper will apply this deposit as consideration. Shopkeeper will apply it to the supply. Then you can say that is a consideration. At that point, that will become consideration. Till that time, that is not a consideration. So that concept we have understood. Okay, that is what I explained in this proviso. Let me show you that thing. Last part, if you see, provided that a deposit given in respect of supply of goods or services of both shall not be considered as payment made by such supply unless the supplier applies such deposits as consideration for the said supply. So till that time, it will not be, the deposits will not be regarded as consideration. But when shopkeeper applies it for consideration, that's a consideration. Hope you have understood this thing. Now, consideration was important. Business definition was important for us. Consideration definition was important for us. The definition of goods as well as the definition of services, that was also important. All these terms are important in the context of supply. The next important term, which is related to the definition of goods impact, is about actionable claim. So let us learn that definition also. Okay. CGST Act, you have already seen, I had shown you, has not clearly defined what is actionable claim. Okay, so we have to read section 2(1) of the CGST Act along with section 3 of Transfer of Property Act. Okay, so section 2(1) of CGST Act read with section 3 of Transfer of Property Act explains what is actionable claim. So this TPA or Transfer of Property Act explains this actionable claim. It can be a claim or it can be a debt. Other than the debt secured by mortgage of immovable property or hypothecation or place of movable property or any other beneficial interest in the movable property, not in possession either actual or constructive of the claimant. This means, first of all, actionable claim, it may be claim or a debt, but other than a claim or debt which is secured. Okay, for the time being, let us ignore this thing, this particular paragraph, because if that claim or debt is secured, that will not be treated as actionable claim. Okay, it clearly says other than a debt secured by mortgage. Right. Now, next point, if you see, which the civil court recognizes as affording ground of relief, whether such debt or beneficial interest be existing, accruing, or conditional or contingent. To summarize or to understand this thing, civil courts of the country must recognizing them as a claim. Okay, and this claim may be existent right now. That claim might be existing or accruing. That means continuously it is accruing. Not that right now it has not been materialized, but it's accruing. Or it is a conditional claim, or it is a contingent claim. That means subject to happening of certain things, the claim will materialize. If that doesn't happen, the claim will not materialize. And civil courts recognize that those assets, those claim as a actionable claim. In that situation only, we'll be calling it the action. Okay. And one more, this paragraph, second paragraph clearly says it should not be secured. For example, you can say, suppose unsecured creditors are there. You can treat them as actionable claim because first of all, it is unsecured. Courts recognize them that these are the receivables. Okay, it is existent. Actually, they exist. Okay, it might be some situation, it might be conditional or contingent claim also. Suppose insurance policy. On happening of certain event only, that claim will materialize. That's also actionable claim. If that insurance policy is not secured, if it is secured, then it is excluded in actionable claim. If it is not secured, that can be treated as an actionable claim. Okay, one more example also can think of. That means share in a partnership. That's also a claim. That's also right. So that can also be treated as an actionable claim. So these are some examples of actionable claim. The purpose why we are learning this actionable claim is that when beginning we learn the definition of goods, you have seen it includes actionable claims. So therefore, there's a need to understand the term actionable claim, which right now we have understood. Now, next term which is important is the agent. The principle we have understood. Principle has to be understood in relation to the agent. The term agent is also important because sometimes agents make supply on behalf of principal. It includes factors, brokers, commission agent, RRPR, delegator agent, or an auctioneer, or any other mercantile agent, by whatever name called, who carries on the business of supply or receipt of goods or services or both on behalf of another. On behalf of another means the principal. On behalf of that principal, this person is carrying out this supply. You may call that person as a factor. Factor means you can say who discounts your debtors, who collects money from your debtors. It can be called as a broker who helps in materializing your transactions. He may be a commission agent. Okay, RRPI is a local language. It's a language in local. It's a term in local language. It means agent who is doing business on behalf of others. right? Del creditor agent is a type of agency where agent acts not only as the salesperson or broker of the principal, but he also acts as a guarantor for the credit supplies. So that is called as a del creditor agent. Okay, if the purchaser doesn't pay money or the debtor doesn't pay money, then del creditor agents will compensate that. So that is also a type of agency. Now, next term, which is important for us, is about manufacture. Yeah. Now, the term manufacturer we need to understand. This means processing of raw material or inputs in any manner that results in emergence of new product having a distinct name, character, and use. Okay, this is the meaning of manufacturer. And the term manufacturer shall be construed accordingly. That means whenever we talk the term manufacturer, but it means some raw materials will be there, some inputs will be there, and that has to be processed. And a new product should come into existence. New product means that should not be called as, that should not be referred to as old product. Suppose you are purchasing wood and manufacturing a chair. So wood and chair, that two different things. Isn't it? Suppose you're purchasing a, you can say, fabric and you're manufacturing a shirt of the fabric. So they're two different things. A new product emerges. Okay, if the earlier product and new product is same, that is not manufacturing. Okay, so it's a new product with a distinct name, character, and use. New product means it should be distinct. Name should be different. Its character should be different. And this thing, use also should be different. If that is there, you can refer to them as a new product. And in that situation only, you can say if goods or product is manufactured. Okay. Few more terms we need to understand. Quickly, one more term will complete. This is the term money. Money means Indian legal tender or any foreign currency, check, promissory note, bill of exchange, letter of credit, draft, pay order, traveler's check, money order, postal and other electronic remittances, or any other instrument recognized by Reserve Bank of India. When used as a consideration to settle an obligation or exchange with Indian legal tender of another denomination, but shall not include any currency that is held for numismatic value. Numismatic value means numismatic is the study or collection of currency, including coins, tokens, paper money, or related objects. So it has got some different kind of values. So if money is collected just for that, that will not be called, technically that will not be referred to as money. But it includes all other foreign currencies are also included, checks are included, provision notes are included, bills of exchange, letter of credit, draft, pay order, everything. That is all this kind of plastic money, etc. are also money. Okay, this is the meaning of money. Right. So few more terms also we need to understand. Few more definitions, like what is taxable supply, we can understand. Supply, I'll broadly tell you. I have already told you. Now, what is taxable supply? What is taxable territory? What is the meaning of person? Okay, who is a recipient? Who is a supplier? We need to understand these few more terms. Then we'll move to, again, we'll be learning section 7, which deals with the concept of supply. Again, we'll see that what exactly supply includes and how consideration is relevant in relation to supply. How the connection of business is relevant in relation to supply. Okay, and what are the goods, what are the services? All these things will be learning one after one. So today, friends, we're closing our session here. If you have any query, then let me know. Else we'll catch up in your next session. Any query you have? Thank you. No query, hopefully.